Yes, welcome to the No State Project live from the fortified compound here in Mesa, Arizona. And, I shouldn't have to say it's a fortified compound, but the reason why I do say that is because those who challenge the official narrative, contrary to what people are saying about me recently, but those of us who challenge the common narrative that government good and free, all that's, and that they're legitimate and that they're citizens and states and stuff like that. Oh, I didn't do the call. You know what? I'm not even gonna. I got to do the caller line, so I apologize for that. But we're still early in the big show, so maybe it's not that big deal, and it's less time that I'm talking about things that people are going to sling mud at me for. So, but I welcome everyone tuning in today. Got a lot of stuff. Well, got some important stuff to get to today. Let me get onto the caller line because I'm expecting a call. So when I made the invite, contrary to popular, why some people think that I have the luxury of being able to just sit around taking phone calls from people who want to chew me out. I don't know where that comes from, but I don't. I am not able to do that. So I made the invitation to berate me on the show. So if you feel the need to tear me a new one because some of these are just well, anyway. The call number, I did put the call-in number on. Hey, Manku from what's up, mate? It's UK. So anyway, yeah, welcome aboard. Activists on the corner, the indoctrinated, incompetent sheeple. I'm actually being accused of being, that. I think some of the worst comments that I've gotten have been recently, and makes it really easy for me to walk away from the show. So, how quickly people will turn on you just for a difference of opinion. And it doesn't matter if you lay it out. In fact, I've been attacked as for being, what was it? My craven yielding to the state and embracing forced vaccinations. And it doesn't matter that I've actually said I am not for forced vaccination. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So there's going to be a portion of the people that watch which the already very small audience that watches and listens to the show, that will in their head they're hearing the complete opposite of what I'm actually saying. So, well, stop, Jan. You're not the only one I'm talking about here. You just think I've drank the Kool-Aid and I just won't listen to reason, and I've got to go listen to other people, and I'm tired of the videos, and I'm just tired of it. So the number is 717-275-8941. The passcode is 1233428. It is in the show notes, and you can also get me on that there Skype at Frank Rizzo 3, but instant message me first. So Steve Christopherson, please don't leave us. You get to a point. Let me talk about some other stuff first, and then I'll get into what I will say before I get into things. I can't afford to, I shouldn't even have a caller line because it does cost some money, and I could actually use the time to be productive and not waste it on callers who just want to tear me a new one and tell me, scream at me about what the hell's wrong with me, why I'm embracing statism. again, we've got that lawyer. We've got that lawyer who filed a complaint against me, and the same thing. Oh, Mark will reject the label of a sovereign citizen, but nonetheless. So even though I say I'm an anarchist, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I'm not a citizen. I've never claimed to be a citizen. I actually proved that there's no such thing. Doesn't matter to this lawyer. Well, apparently it doesn't matter to some of you guys who watch the show or listen to the show, because no matter what I say, you are hearing the complete opposite. And you get, there's aloha. You get tired of it. I could take criticism about the work, but the constant avalanche of personal attacks, who needs it? Who the hell needs that? So I don't have the money anymore, and the website more than likely is going to be gone next month. I cannot pay for the hosting anymore. And therefore, I'm not going to spend the time to clean up the audio, because I have the podcast that I post at my website, markstevens.net. And, I do some editing, and it takes some time to post it. And, I've got to, it takes some time. And unfortunately, the website's going to be gone. So I can't afford the hosting anymore. So that's going. So you guys who think I'm some shill for the New World Order, that George Soros is cutting me checks, well, I can't even afford the $15 hosting every month. So that's gone. So I would say anybody who wants to get backups of the show, do it now, because I don't have them all backed up. I'm not paying for space. I can't pay for space. So if you're interested in salvaging the videos, in case the bar orders my channel to be taken down, then mirror it now. I don't think anybody has ever said to me and sent me a link, hey, dude, I'm actually backing it up. So I don't think there's a big rush to back up the show. So one of these guys saying, oh, a month sounds like you're getting ripped off. It's usually $15 a year for hosting. The space, the bandwidth that I have to have all that audio, 15, 20, 30, or 100 gigs worth of, if I'm being ripped off, I'm being ripped off. I'm not paying for another website. I'm not going to go through all the trouble of migrating. I can't pay the hosting here. That's going to have to be it. So, little this stuff. I thank Rob in Seattle for sending this to me. It's reported last week on techdirt.com by Tim Cushing. After 48 years, D.C. appeals court overturns murder conviction based on FBI's garbage hair match evidence. For decades, the FBI pushed junk science. Gee, what a shock. What a shock there. The FBI not known for being honest. Again, I mentioned, I guess it wasn't necessarily the FBI's position to do this, but they wouldn't speak to me either. Or the man's attorney when I reported someone in Connecticut who was being represented by a member in good standing of the Connecticut State Bar, who was counsel of record, had his client indicted, and they did not inform him. They actively discouraged any communication with his own lawyer. I'm sure there's going to be somebody out there that, they'll come up with some stupid comment. See, he supports the bar. He's a shill. Boy, I'm so tired of all this. It wasn't until for decades, the FBI pushed junk science on the courts, resulting in the wrongful convictions of an untold number of people. It wasn't until 2009 that it started trying to undo the damage. Really? And even then, the FBI wasn't 100% sure it shouldn't hold on to at least some of its favorite junk, even if it had been repeatedly shown that there was little verifiable science behind the expert witnesses' assertions. All that seemed to matter were the convictions. They give, There are Supreme Court cases, there are appellate court cases that talk about overzealous prosecutions, and that the job of the prosecutor is not to get a conviction, is to prove beyond a reasonable doubt with evidence that the charges in the indictment or the information are correct. It's not to get a conviction. It's it's just like a defense attorney's job is not supposed to be to get an acquittal. It's to ensure that their client gets a fair trial. It's supposed to be what the judge is supposed to do. The judge is there to ensure that the prosecution, that the trial is fair for the prosecution and the defense. But all that matters is the conviction. Right or wrong doesn't enter into this. Whoa. Maybe I shouldn't get into a discussion of ethics. There'll be an avalanche of attack comments. That's what I thought that the level of hate that was leveled at me when I discussed veganism was horrifically bad. Man, you guys, and I'm not even going to discuss it on this show because I've had it. I've had it. I'm not even going to discuss it unless someone calls the person I'm expecting to call does call. I'm not even going to use the name. I'm not even, it's not even worth, Anyway, let's get back to this. Appealing a conviction is hard work, something that takes years to do and requires the assistance of experienced lawyers. The damage has been done, and the FBI's belated recognition of its contribution to the farce that is our criminal justice system isn't going to give back years of wrongfully obtained lives. Yeah, appealing a conviction is hard work. That's why they can say to you, if you don't like it, appeal it. The expense that is involved in doing an appeal, if you've had an actual trial, not so much when you get these little rinky-dink traffic things that takes, they shear the sheep in a half hour. Even a transcript there isn't going to cost you more than $200, $300. But if they've given you a 3 or 4 day trial, like the sham that they did, Beastline, what he did up in Alaska, you're talking thousands of dollars in transcripts alone. Now you got to go through the transcripts. So if you've got a really complex case and you got to appeal that, they can have that. And I've called judges out on that when they, Garcia, I said, well, you can sit up there and flippantly tell me to just appeal it because you're not bearing the brunt of that, of the cost. Well, I'm not being flippant. Oh, well, that's a matter of opinion, I guess. But that's why judges can laugh at you. They can be very flippant with us. You can just appeal it. Yeah, you can appeal it. Why can't you just do the right thing now? Why do you have to go to bat for the judge? For the prosecution. So someone contacted me recently. Oh, so one of these guys, I was thinking about the domain. Yeah, the domain's a 1-year thing, tough guy. I'm talking about the monthly hosting. You don't get gigs and 150, 200 gigs worth of bandwidth for $15 a year. So somebody contacted me. He works for a city attorney down there in San Diego, and he had a private happenstance. He wasn't on the job when he had a run-in with a Judge Olson in Tempe, Arizona. Like I had posted years ago. We're talking 2014 at least. I think it was 2014. So I talked to him about that. And he wanted to sue. So he's asking me, well, what happened to that complaint? So this is a judge who was, not just flippant about it, was just downright mean and grossly unprofessional. She was the one that yelled at me to sit in the back of the gallery. Now, there was like 3 people in the whole courtroom watching. And so I sat in the front, and she snapped at me to know I had to move to the back. So this was someone that one of the more serious things that she did was she took the burden of proof off of the police officer explicitly. So we asked the police officer, now in Arizona for minor traffic, the prosecution doesn't have to give the discovery until immediately before the trial. And so the discovery request was made. And so we spoke to the cop and we said, well, the guy I was working with, he asked, hey, what do you have as far as the discovery? And he said, well, I'm going to let the judge handle that. I said, excuse me? Is the judge working for the prosecution? I'm going to let the judge handle it. So here you had a police officer who apparently his relationship was so tight with the judge, he could get away, and he did get away. Can you imagine in a murder trial, you ask the prosecution for Brady material, you ask the prosecution for discoverable material, something that you're supposed to be entitled to, and the prosecution snaps you? I'm going to let the judge take care of that. Holy crap. So that, and again, and it was said, the guy came out and said, and even I said, this police officer is not giving the discovery. He said, you're going to give it to the defendant. You, the judge. Well, that set this woman off something awful. And that's why I had to sit in the back. There were 3 rows. So I had to move back 2 rows. What the hell? I could see if it was like 50 rows. No, sit in the back, you jackass. So I had to break the news to this guy. Nothing happened. What the hell you think is going to happen if some non-lawyer files a complaint against the judge? Against the judge. I actually thought I was being set up. He thought he could file. He's saying he wanted advice and wanted to know, what advice I had that if he filed a small claims action against him. And I said, wait a minute. You've worked in a city attorney's office for 25 years and you don't know whether they have absolute immunity from civil litigation? Which they gave themselves. They gave it to themselves. Stuart saying, Smith, the lighter note in lockdown got a lathe. Nice. I can't recommend it enough. It's a form of meditation. P.S. Don't give up. Forget callers for now and get a guest on once a week and have constructive debates. Constructive debates, I try to do that. And, the thing is, this is a long time coming, everybody. I can't continue doing this when I have no money. Even if the bar didn't attack me, I got no money. I'm dead friggin' broke. Okay. A lathe is nice. I actually see, I don't know if you guys can see that. I actually used to run a lathe. And that scar there is from a 1/2-inch end mill. So I was fixing the heads on the lathe. Wasn't meditation, but I get what you mean. And so I put these, I'm putting the end mills in. I'm getting things set. I think it was a 6 or 8 head lathe. I forget. It's too many years ago. And I had turned around. Someone gets my attention. I turned around and I put a 1/2-inch end mill right into my arm, about 3/4 of an inch. So reminds me of the machinist joke. The machinist is at the hospital. He calls his wife. He says, "Look, I'm at the hospital. I cut my finger off." And the wife says, "Oh my gosh, the whole finger?" No. The one next to it. So, yeah. Appealing a conviction is hard work. You imagine, so like I was saying, especially when you're going through an actual real trial, not the sham proceedings that you get in traffic or the sham in taxes, but that's going to take more than a half hour to shear you. It's going to take a lot more than a half hour. Those things, yeah. So that could take a week, depending on what they're charging you with. So they don't give a damn. Here you've got Ken Anderson, who the only judge in American or prosecutor in American history ever to be held accountable for prosecutorial misconduct, which is a nice way of saying multiple felonies, false conviction and whatnot, obstruction of justice. He got less than 10 days in jail for putting a man in prison for 28 years. Now, had Ken Anderson had an ounce of pot, he would have done more time. You get more time routinely from having an ounce of pot than these lawyers do by falsely imprisoning people. So that's what they sneer at you. You don't like it, appeal it. Oh. Because even if you win, the judge goes on. They don't care. They don't have to give a damn. They don't have to care. Yeah, the damage has been done. By the FBI's own admission, nearly every forensic expert deployed in criminal trials gave flawed testimony that overstated the certainty of their findings. This included experts testifying about fingerprints, DNA, and hair analysis, not just those discussing complete garbage like bite mark matching or asserting mass-produced clothing is as unique as somebody's fingerprints. Oh my gosh, mass-produced clothing. Yeah, but judges aren't pro-state. No. They magically shed that bias after years of prosecuting for their client, the state. Yeah, they're just such wonderful people that normal, basic human psychology, it just rolls off. No, I was a prosecutor for 15 years and I represented the state thousands of times. I'm not going to have any kind of that bias once I put the robe on. No. I'm sure that there were some very capable defense attorneys whose objections to this junk were overruled without explanation. Because that's the way it works. I have been and I have witnessed trials and I have read transcripts where literally every single defense objection was overruled. And every single prosecution objection, I mean, everyone, even when they just used the word objection and didn't say relevance or even had grounds, they always. Now, that's not necessarily the case, of course, with everything, with every judge. And it just seems to be, it's pretty damn prevalent. If you're in a traffic case or you're in a tax case, every one of your objections, regardless of the merit, it's just like my cousin Vinny, when they had the surprise expert witness. And he says, Mr. Gambini, that was a well thought out, lucid, solid argument. Hey, thanks, Your Honor. Yeah, denied. Overruled. So, yeah. The D.C. Court of Appeals just overturned a conviction based on faulty hair match analysis. It comes nearly 50 years after the conviction, meaning the government exchanged bad testimony for most of a person's life. The opening of the decision lays out the facts concisely. After almost 50 years ago, appellant Dennis Butler was convicted of murder. At his trial, an FBI forensic expert testified that hairs found on the victim were microscopically identical to Butler's hair. The government recently acknowledged, though, that hair evidence of the kind introduced against Butler was false and exceeded the limits of science, and that the prosecution knew or should have known as much at the time of the trial. The FBI was testifying about this. They knew or should have known. They don't care. They don't give a damn. Butler spent decades in prison because the FBI spent decades saying having a microscope was the same thing as being a scientist. The court says it's not even close. And it's a statement made by the FBI's own findings. Hair microscopy called for forensic examiners to conduct side-by-side microscopic comparisons of hair samples in an effort to ascertain whether hairs from a crime scene matched hairs from a suspect. the government used ostensible matches at trial as scientific evidence linking defendants to crimes. There was, however, a significant problem with that field of analysis. Science had not validated its foundational premises. Existing studies failed to support a trained examiner's ability to identify a match based on any objective system of visual hair comparison or to validly estimate the frequency of hair characteristics and therefore of matches in the general population. Whoa, it's just this. That was the court saying that. The lack of scientific confirmation didn't stop the FBI from using hair matches in court, even after it knew the science behind it was lacking. It wasn't until the National Academy of Sciences called the FBI out in its report on hair analysis that the FBI began reining in its expert witnesses. Following this public fisking by actual scientists, the government reviewed thousands of convictions obtained with hair analysis prior to the year 2000. Butler's was one of them. So the question is, did the prosecution rely on the FBI's faulty testimony to secure this conviction? The answer is yes. The government's evidence beyond the supposed hair match were two unreliable witnesses whose stories change frequently. Yeah, it's to get convictions. At least, though, you get good review. You see, at least some get review if you can afford the law firms to do, 1,000 hours of analysis and actually prosecute your appeal. They seem to at least go through the motions with serious crimes. There's still tremendous amounts of prosecutorial misconduct, but at least they go through they seem to be going through the motions. They don't even do that in traffic court. Traffic court, the rules of evidence a lot of times don't even apply. Now, unfortunately, these people take it that if the rules of evidence don't apply, then nothing applies. But due process and fairness still does. It's supposed to. Oh, sorry. Almost lost my head there for a second. Speaking just educationally and what the courts have actually ruled, not to be taken as legal advice, and I'm not making suggestions that you or anybody else do anything based on what I'm saying. Be adult to make up your own mind, right? But as far as I've read, due process still applies, and due process, they say, is a notice and opportunity to be heard, and that you're supposed to have a fair and meaningful hearing or trial. It's supposed to be fair. So even if the technical rules of evidence don't apply, that is, I don't take that to mean that nothing applies. Well, we could do it, but that's what you get in traffic court. They don't care. Someone like Peter Pan in Scottsdale, who actually said on the record, Mike didn't show up, even though Mike was there, even though we had video proof. And he made sure to speak to and get notes and write the names down of the security guys that he was there. He got away with it. And they'll keep getting away with that. As long as people accept that they're a legitimate organization. So let me check to see. All right. It doesn't look like we're going to have any callers, so I'm going to save the money on that. Well, yeah, okay. Yeah. So if you do want to reach me, just instant message me on Skype at FrankRizzo3 because those are free. Yeah. So I'm going to just talk about some more serious stuff I mentioned before. Wow, somebody actually said it was my craven yielding to the state and embracing forced vaccinations. I have been looking anyway to get into another field for over, at least 2 years. I set out to do this because I wanted to help people, and I did that. Contrary, you look at the evidence. The evidence is there. There's always, there's a lot of spin, but the evidence is there. The body of evidence that I have put up on the website for now Well, a lot of the stuff is also in the video, so it speaks for itself. Anybody saying that I've never had success in court and that I've never helped anyone have success in court, they're wrong. And, and one of the things that gets, I love how, and this is why it makes it easier to not continue doing the show. I'm not stopping today. I'm not stopping on Saturday, but the show is coming to an end. I can't do this anymore. And it's disheartening. It's great when people have success, but it's really disheartening when people can have success and get 200,000 views on the video talking about my work, but I'm looking at 46 live listeners and barely getting 1,000 views on my video. So I'm glad other people have had resounding success on YouTube and on a podcast based on, in part on the work that I've done and the success that they've had. But I've had none as far as being able to continue doing this show. Again, I started doing it just on, it was the thing I was asked to do on RBN back in 2006. So, yeah, I got to take it because I got this one typical guy who every single broadcast we have to say about my massive ego. I have 49 people watching and I still did the show for years. But I have been looking for a while, a couple of years, to by necessity be able to get into another profession because there was no money in this and I cannot continue doing it. So even if I didn't get attacked, even if I didn't have that 4-inch thick complaint against me, it didn't matter. I had to do something different. I have to do something different. I'm not running scared. Somebody's actually accusing me. I think that was one of the things, the points that I was supposed to talk about. Yeah, my cowardly retreat. That just because that I tell other people to defend themselves, but I won't do it myself. Let's take that stupid criticism apart. And now I'm not saying the person who leveled it is stupid. It's the criticism. You got to pick your battles wisely. I've been attacked now 3 times, and the other 2 is successful. So it's not like I didn't defend myself. And I don't get on the show and I don't tell people you defend yourself. That's a choice you have to make. I always say, I applaud you if you do. I think it's great to stand up to them. Great. But I'm not advising people to do that. I'm not saying you should definitely, because I don't know your background. I don't know. That's why your stupid comments, it's really easy that when the time comes, I can walk away from the show with no regrets and with a sigh of relief. I don't have to hear these people complaining about me being a shill for Soros. You have to pick your battles wisely. If you want to think that I'm a coward, go ahead. Whatever. It's just YouTube. Who gives a damn? But I did defend against it. I even read some, my defense so that I didn't just roll over. And I explained the reason why I was not going to take calls about court anymore is because I didn't want to have my channel coming down now. I didn't want to have my website taken down right now. I wanted to be at least able to defend myself and maybe get backups and prepare for it instead of having it done immediately. So there was some thought process to that. And it's not like I kept it from anybody. I said it on the air. I said it on the air. And I tell you, from a personal level, I am so sick to death of those stupid comments. You're a shill. You're this. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. Does it matter that I said explicitly, I am not for forced vaccinations? Not for forced vaccinations. Somebody is going to still accuse me of the complete opposite of that. And it's one thing to get the stupid comments on YouTube. I expect that. But when you go out of your way to copy your comment and email me. I even go and I say, look, why don't you do me a favor? If I actually embraced forced vaccinations, give me the link and the time in the video that I did that. Nothing. You know, I remember years ago, somebody wanted help on a traffic case. And I thought it was open shut. You know, but I was much younger. Much younger. It's 20 years ago. And we start, you know, we're working, and this is what the defense is, what we're going to, this is what he's going to do. And he's all prepped, he's ready to go. And he decides, I don't think I should do this one. And I was a little perturbed, all that effort. Because, like, you know, I took it like you should, and I took it personal. It's not. 2 or 3 days later, he got hit with a massive attack from the IRS. So all of a sudden, you realize, oh, well, yeah, I got to prioritize my life here. I can't do both. Stahl, you're not a shill, but need to stop the COVID Kool-Aid. LOL, your next show should be with Brian. I'm not even mentioning that stuff anymore. You guys, you got it. You have pushed me to such a point with this crap. I won't even discuss it. So that is, veganism doesn't get discussed because too many people are too damn immature, and I don't discuss that. So in the time remaining that I do the show, not going to discuss it. Not going to discuss it. So you guys who are absolutely obsessed, thinking it's all a friggin' hoax, the New World Order, the globalists, they want to own you. They want to own everything and have everyone in debt, which they already did. You won. I'm not discussing it anymore. Stop sending it to me. I got to end the show there. I think I've said what needs to be said. I apologize that the situation is where it is. The show is going to end this year. And that's it. I will talk about things like I did today. I will talk about anarchy. I will talk about ethics. I will talk about horrific things that happen in court as a warning. But I will not discuss the pandemic, and I will not discuss veganism. And I would ask that, and if anybody sends me anything on that, I will not be responding to it. And that's because instead of having a rational adult discussion, you got to make personal attacks. So that's what it's more. It's more in that you can't have a rational discussion on it without it being laced with insults. So that's that. What sucks is that I'm sure, there's actually going to be some joy with a few lawyers that, oh yeah, he's finally stopping. We got him. No, what got it was this, what's going on. I'm totally out of business. So Stuart's saying, Mark, don't stop. This world is changing. We need critical thinkers. You have been one of them for me, but I can understand if you need to stop. But I would ask you two things. Keep writing. Where am I going to put I guess I could still maintain the Facebook. But yeah, I know. I know that one particular lawyer. He must be, just giddy and, just giddy with joy. But at least I know it had nothing to do with them. And my videos will stand as a testament to how wrong they were. But are you still taking emails? I need to talk to you about something. I'm not talking about anything with anyone regarding court. I am done. I am done with that. I don't have. Mark's out of business right now when the police state rolls out full force. Well, I don't see it that way. It happened, And again, guys, I have been looking I figured what I would do is I'd get into another profession and actually have some money and not be constantly stressed out. And I might do the show, a half hour at a time and keep the show going. But yeah, it probably not going to work out that way. So yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, the people having trouble with CDLs now too. So I was talking to someone about that yesterday, and so that's no walk in the park either. So what do you do? So, without Mark, there is no NSP. I don't care if somebody want to. I can't. You guys have made it so I can't participate in my own chat anymore. So you guys keep that going. Oh my gosh. You got to mention that guy. Look, that guy is rich so many times over, and it sickens my stomach to think that I don't know if anyone here did, but people actually gave him money. I can't waste my time on that. I've got some other appointments I've got to get to try to dig myself out of this hole. So I'll do the show for, another month or two, but, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But most of the time it's been enjoyable, and it's been good that so many people were able to have success. But it is a drain when somebody is involved in a train wreck, and those do happen. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working to help people, but just in a completely different way. One that won't result in me having no money. Oh, Mark, stop being yeah. You see, it's stuff like that. I don't care. All right, I'm going to end the show on that note. When somebody wants to, sling, it's going to be. Don't worry. You don't have, the show is not going to continue for too much longer. So you can go leave comments on somebody else's YouTube channel. I do appreciate those who do leave good comments and can have a rational adult conversation, even when we disagree, which, all right. I'm Mark Stevens. Not going to mention the website. Doesn't matter. I will be live on Saturday, as far as I know. And so till then, salud.